A very good morning this Monday morning. All the stories from the world of business, policy, economy, markets that will move the needle on your business coming your way on World Business Report. I'm Karthik Malhotra. Stick on with News9 Live. A big story coming this morning. The World Economic Forum Annual Meeting 2024 kicks off today in Davos, Switzerland, with over 2,800 global leaders in attendance. Discussions will cover political, business, cultural and global issues for the next 5 days. More than 60 heads of state, including India's representation by 3 union ministers, 3 chief ministers and over 100 CEOs likely to flock to Davos. Climate change, artificial intelligence, threats and global conflicts like the Ukraine and Israel-Hamas wars will be on agenda. Eminent attendees include Li Qiang, Emmanuel Macron, Antonio Guterres, Kristalina Georgieva, Ajay Banga and Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Union ministers like Smriti Irani, Ashwini Vaishnav and Hardeep Singh Puri represent India in Davos 2024. In addition to that, of course, you've got RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das and ministers from the states of Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Telangana also at the highly important global event. Moving to the corporate side, CEOs, industrialists and VVIPs including Gautam Adani, Sanjeev Bajaj, Kumar Mangalam Birla, N. Chandrasekaran, Nadir Godrej, Sajan Jindal, Roshni Nadir Malhotra, Nandan Nilekani, Rishad Premji and Sumant Sinha will be part of the Indian delegation. All those updates coming from World Economic Forum at Davos 2024. We'll bring you those updates as the forum kickstarts and news begins to emerge. China's growth without last year's pandemic slump in the focus, and the Davos meeting faces geopolitical challenges. Wednesday's closed-door financial services governors meeting is key. In the US, retail sales data will spotlight consumer health. Take a look at the emerging news from business and finance this week on the World Outlook.
From China's GDP figures to US retail sales data, these are the stories to watch in business and finance. China's full-year GDP figures will be released on Wednesday, revealing just how close it got to hitting its 5% growth goal for 2023. The challenge is how to do the same thing this year. Unlike last year, there's no pandemic lockdown slump to flatter the result. The annual World Economic Forum meeting kicks off in Davos, Switzerland Monday. Central bankers, financiers, and business leaders will meet against a complicated geopolitical backdrop beset by war. One key event is Wednesday's closed-door financial services governors meeting, which will bring together 100 chairs and CEOs. U.S. retail sales data due Wednesday will put the health of consumers in the spotlight. Signs that consumers may be pulling back might undermine the expectation of an economic soft landing. Economists polled by Reuters expect retail sales rose 0.3% in December. The week will also see earnings reports from Goldman Sachs and Charles Schwab. The next batch of UK consumer price data could be exactly what Bank of England officials and politicians are hoping for, a big enough slide to declare victory in the war on major inflation. The pound is off to a relatively firm start, supported by a rise in UK government bond yields. A soft read on Wednesday may prove an unwelcome development for sterling bulls.
Well, as UK inflation data is awaited in London, British police on Sunday arrested 6 people who are members of the Palestine Action protest group as part of an investigation into an alleged plot to disrupt the London Stock Exchange. The force said it was believed those involved were planning to cause damage and lock on in an effort to stop the building opening for trading. In a statement, London's Metropolitan Police, a 31-year-old man from Liverpool was arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to cause criminal damage by officers from Merseyside Police in the early hours on Sunday. 5 others were arrested over the same offence later in the day, including a woman 29 from Brent in North London, a 23-year-old man in East London, 2 women aged 28 and 26 from Liverpool, and a 27-year-old man in Brighton. The Met is coordinating with other forces to prevent further disruptions. Detective Superintendent Sian Thomas emphasized the seriousness of the arrests. Moving to Taiwan, in a historic win, Lai Ching-te, also called William Lai, secured an unprecedented third term for the Democratic Progressive Party in Taiwan. Yet, this triumph unfolds against a backdrop of rising tensions between China and the United States. China swiftly responded, asserting inevitable reunification with Taiwan and opposing separatist activities. The US, Taiwan's key military ally, reiterated its non-support for Taiwan's independence. President Biden plans to send an unofficial delegation reaffirming unwavering US commitment to the island. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman said Russia's position on Taiwan is unchanged and that the country considers it an integral part of China. As global powers weigh in, the situation in the Asia-Pacific region is likely to get tense. And staying with China, in economic news, China's exports saw a notable uptick, rising 2.3% in December, surpassing forecasts and providing relief for policymakers. However, concerns linger over weak domestic demand as consumer prices fell for a third consecutive month and factory gate prices continued their year-long decline. Here's that story.
Chinese exports picked up in December, spelling relief for policymakers. Overseas shipments rose 2.3% on the year. That was better than forecast and far faster than the month before. Imports also grew. But officials warned that growing protectionism and events like the Red Sea ship attacks still pose risks to a recovery. Economists said the December gains were driven by chips and electronics and came as overseas demand starts to recover. It follows data from South Korea, Germany and other major exporters in suggesting that global trade is beginning to bounce back. It will also be a relief for Beijing after exports fell last year for the first time since 2016. The picture on China's domestic economy is less encouraging though. Consumer prices fell for a third month in December, while factory gate prices extended a decline now going back more than a year. China watchers say demand is still weak, with the turmoil in the property sector among factors to sap confidence. Many think that will force Beijing into more stimulus measures. Analysts at UBS say more steps are needed to boost household spending and eliminate deflation.
Well, no matter the data, those ghost townships in China continue to haunt. But moving on to the US, Citigroup, under the leadership of CEO Jane Fraser, plans to cut 200,000 jobs, consisting approximately 10% of its global workforce, over the next 2 years or so as part of a broader restructuring initiative by the bank. This move is aimed at streamlining operations and eliminating layers of bureaucracy within the bank. Despite reporting a $1.8 billion loss in the last quarter of 2023, the largest quarterly hit in years, Fraser expressed confidence that 2024 would be a turning point for the company. The restructuring is expected to sharply reduce the bank's size, with Citi aiming to employ about 180,000 people by 2025 or 2026, down from approximately 240,000 at the beginning of 2023. The The reorganization is projected to cost up to $1 billion this year, in addition to $800 million in the most recent quarter, with anticipated savings of $2.5 billion over the medium term. And staying with US companies, tech giant Apple is set to shut down a key artificial intelligence team, leading to potential job losses for several employees. The company has not disclosed specific details about the number of employees affected or the reasons behind this decision. The move comes as part of Apple's ongoing efforts to reorganize its internal teams and arrive at a more focused strategic shift. According to reports, an Apple spokeswoman has confirmed the decision, saying that the company is bringing its data operations annotations teams in the US together at its campus in Austin, where a majority of the team is already based. The move could lead to several dozen workers leaving the company, many of them likely to be part of the Citi function of Apple. Apple, which had 161,000 employees as of September, has mostly managed to avoid layoffs since the pandemic, in contrast with most of its tech peers. After the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, charged Morgan Stanley and Company and former executive Pawan Passi with fraud involving the disclosure of confidential information in connection to stock trades, Morgan Stanley has agreed to pay $250 million to settle the civil and criminal charges. The resolution of charges, including deception, fraud and compliance failures, marks the end of a prolonged legal concern for the bank. The US SEC and the Manhattan US Attorney's Office has been investigating the bank's block trades for years now. Morgan Stanley acknowledged making false statements regarding trades between 2018 and 2021. The bank's payments included fines to the Justice Department and SEC, along with restitution and forfeiture of wrongful gains. And moving on to the global economy, global crude oil prices rose more than 4% following US and UK strikes on military infrastructure used by Houthi rebels in Yemen. The action has raised concerns about a widening conflict in the Middle East, causing additional disruptions to commercial shipping in the Red Sea. Here's that story.
Oil prices jumped more than 4% on Friday. The surge came after the US and Britain struck Houthi military targets in Yemen. That was in response to attacks by the Iran-backed group on shipping in the Red Sea. The strikes added to market concerns about the potential impact of a broader conflict in the Middle East. There are worries about oil supplies from the region, especially those moving through the critical Strait of Hormuz. The US and British strikes demonstrate a widening of the Israel-Hamas war since it erupted in October. Witnesses in Yemen confirmed explosions throughout the country. US President Joe Biden said the targeted strikes were a clear message the US and partners would not tolerate attacks on its personnel or allow hostile actors to imperil freedom of navigation. A Houthi spokesperson said the group would continue to target shipping heading towards Israel. The attacks have disrupted international commerce on the key passage between Europe and Asia. The route makes up about 15% of the world's shipping traffic. The Houthis have attacked commercial vessels in the Red Sea to show support for Palestinian militant group Hamas in its fight against Israel. Shipping giant Maersk and others have diverted vessels away from the Red Sea and warned of further disruptions.
All right, and staying with the Red Sea conflict, it's not just the oil prices that's being affected by the continuous attacks on vessels, but even Elon Musk's Tesla is facing some serious repercussions following the disruptions. Now, Tesla is planning to suspend most car production at its factory near Berlin for 2 weeks because of lack of parts. The US electric vehicle maker is the first company to disclose an interruption to output due to the disruption at Red Sea. Remember, the attacks by Iranian-backed Houthi militants have forced the world's top shipping companies and getting them to avoid the Suez Canal, the fastest maritime route from Asia to Europe, which accounts for about 12% of global maritime traffic. And time for a quick programming note right here on World Business Report. 22nd Jan is the date that I'm sure you've marked in your calendars. But do remember, in addition to the inauguration of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya, your destination to watch all the live coverage will be News9 Live. Take a look.
Ram's Ayodhya rebuilt. Ram Lala's Pran Pratishtha. Countdown to January 22nd. Dateline Ayodhya. Catch the mega coverage only on News9 Live.
All right, let's continue with World Business Report and move straight to all the action on Wall Street. Well, stocks ended the last trading day at Wall Street with minimal change following a mix of bank earning reports on Wall Street. The market showed limited movement as various financial institutions presented their quarterly performances, leaving investors with a diverse range of outcomes. The Dow dipped 0.33%, while the S&P 500 and Nasdaq each ticked up marginally. Take a look.
U.S. stocks closed barely changed on Friday for a second day in a row as mixed bank earnings offset better than expected inflation news. The Dow dipped 0.33%, while the S&P 500 and Nasdaq each ticked up marginally. Friday also brought news of U.S. and British forces launching airstrikes in Yemen in retaliation for Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. While markets have so far largely brushed off global conflicts, Joy Yang, head of product management and marketing at Market Vector Indexes, believes they're finally starting to weigh on stocks.
We're seeing a lot of geopolitical tensions on the rise, and we're waiting to see how this will escalate. I wouldn't discount what's going on in the Red Sea, in China, Taiwan, in the Middle East, in Russia, Ukraine. We're waiting to see how this will escalate in an election year also. So I think a lot of people are just holding back a little bit to get some more news and information.
Data Friday showed U.S. producer prices unexpectedly fell in December. That was in contrast to a report a day earlier that showed consumer prices in December rose slightly. In earnings news, shares of Bank of America fell 1% after its fourth quarter profit shrank as the lender took $3.7 billion in one-off charges, while Wells Fargo dropped more than 3% after warning of a 7 to 9% drop in net interest income in 2024. J.P. Morgan Chase edged about 0.75% lower after reporting its best-ever annual profit and forecasting higher-than-expected interest income for 2024. But Citigroup rose 1% after reporting a $1.8 billion fourth-quarter loss and saying it was planning another 20,000 job cuts as it looks to restructure the business. United Health dragged down the Dow, its shares dropping more than 3% after the company reported higher-than-expected medical costs. Delta Airlines tumbled 9% after the carrier scaled down its annual profit outlook. And Tesla lost more than 3.5% after trimming prices of some new China models and suspending most car production in its factory near Berlin due to supply chain problems caused by the Red Sea conflict.
All right, that was the update from markets as they closed on Friday. And of course, tomorrow we'll get you the opening of Wall Street on Monday. But for now, let's move to the world of entertainment. Actor Leonardo DiCaprio revealed the twisted love story in his new movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. It's based on a true story about the pursuit of oil on tribal land in the US. DiCaprio further talks about the origins of the story and how it was reshaped during production. Take a look.
This love story, like I said, is one of the most twisted I've ever seen in, forget about reality, but cinema history. And when we rewrote the script, we thought, how could this relationship be possible? We started to look into old movies from the 1940s as well to gain inspiration. But at the end of the day, it's all the truth. They really did have this connection. They really did love each other.
What
was that?
That's how you are.
I don't know what she said, but it must have been Indian for handsome devil.
The original book, Killers of the Flower Moon, was a fascinating one. It was an exploration of the beginnings of the FBI. It was a lost chapter, forgotten chapter of American history. You know, we're dealing with this great reckoning of our past now, and it was synonymous. The same year that the Osage Reign of Terror happened was the same year that the Tulsa Massacre happened, a half an hour away. And Oklahoma was really this melting pot at that time of, you know, people coming in trying to reclaim what they felt was rightfully theirs. And Ernest is, in a lot of ways, representative of that, coming back from World War I and having this uncle that has devised this incredibly sinister plan to, you know, have him marry into an Osage family and then systematically kill off her entire bloodline for oil.
All right, and good news for all Top Gun fans. After Top Gun Maverick became the highest grossing film of Tom Cruise's career, a third Top Gun movie is underway. Top Gun Maverick co-writer Erin Kruger's script is underway, according to news reports. Maverick director Joe Kosinski would also return to direct Top Gun 3. The intent is to reunite Tom Cruise with the next-gen co-stars Miles Teller and Glenn Powell. The development comes days after Warner Brothers Discovery announced that Cruise has signed a deal to star in and produce movies for Warner Brothers. And from one top grosser to another, but this one on the small screen, the producers of Game of Thrones make a triumphant return with a new series, captivating audiences and continuing their legacy in the world of television. Take a look.
We did them justice, and the people would feel the awe that we felt in reading the books initially.
There must be 30 dead scientists in the past month. Christ, another countdown.
It was unlike anything we'd ever read. It starts in the late 60s and it goes to the end of time and the end of the universe, literally. And that was both attractive and terrifying because I'd never seen anything like that. I'd never read it, and we couldn't imagine any other show that had ever done it. So.
Whoa, that's cool. Please go ahead and have a seat, guys. Just raise your hand and we'll be over to assist you, all right? All right, everybody.
It was like a magic trick that they pulled off, even though I knew how the trick was done, which is pretty impressive. I thought it was fun.
Well, that's all we have on this edition of World Business Report. Of course, news will continue right here on News 9 Live, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you again tomorrow on World Business Report. Thanks for watching.
Bangalore traffic is an example of something that has gone wrong with our system.
We have more than 50 flyovers in Bangalore city. If flyover is a solution to traffic problem, Bangalore should not have traffic problem.
According to TomTom Traffic Index 2022, Bangalore is ranked as the second worst city in the world when it comes to traffic.
The speed limit at the ORR is 80 kilometers per hour. but our vehicle has only moved 10 kilometers per hour.
What Bangalore needs is a surgery, but what we have been offered repeatedly are band-aids.
Only on the world's first news OTT. News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
Mitchell Starc became the costliest player in the history of the IPL. A defiant performance by Ten Hag's men, keeping Liverpool quiet to earn a goalless draw.
Sri Lanka don't have any chance. There's another way to win here. I think it's too late in the day.
I wonder how that will happen, given he is among the richest sportspersons on this planet at the moment.
How the game is evolving, and I think that's really important.
Go all guns blazing into this journey now. Now standing at 7 feet 4 inches, Satnam Singh is making his way into professional wrestling.
I did my best, but now I have to change my life. I hope so. We are getting more good news for India in 2024.
Nobody would have expected this.
Yes, the scale of the attack surprised us.
When you get a series of alerts, 16 intelligence alerts, if Maharashtra government at that time had alerted the Coast Guard and the Navy, this 2611 would not have happened at all.
And one of the details they had planned was to use these dhagas to mislead the investigative agencies.
All this was to be presented as a Hindu terror. It was a Pakistan operation. The LET was the front end.